Hi, so there's 100 ways to install Python. And if you're a beginner or even an intermediate, you might be a little overwhelmed with the different ways of doing this. Now, some ways you can just go to the Python's website, right? And you can install some pre-compiled binary file that, you can set to your system. Or you can even go to the terminal and directly install Python through some package manager that you've got on your OS. However, today I'm going to show you the best way to get this done. And not only are you going to be able to install your Python, you're also going to be able to manage it, like different versions of it for different projects, right? And it's a simple two-step process that I took a very long time to learn or to get around using. And it's been pretty good though, right? So that's what I'm going to show you today for 2024. And let's get started. So up here, we have an article that I'm going to show you. I'll put the link in the bio. Now, I'm going to be doing it on macOS. However, if you have a Linux or a Windows system, it's very similar and you can kind of get it done there as well. So we're going to be starting with macOS here. The first step is you got to have Homebrew. Most of the time, I think you'd already have it. If you don't, just go ahead and install that. It's a package manager. It's primarily for macOS, if I'm not mistaken. Now, through that, you're going to be installing a package called Pyenv. Now, Pyenv is the starting point for all these OSs. So no matter what OS you've got, you got to get the same package called Pyenv. Once you get this Pyenv, you're able to install and manage Python versions using it. Now let's go ahead and get that done. So first off, we go brew install Pyenv. Okay. Now this is going to install Pyenv for us. And while it runs, let's just take a look at what else we should get done. Next up, we have to add the well, we have to add Pyenv's, well, paths rather, right? It's better called a shim, right? It's a folder. You can think of it as a folder with all the Python versions inside it. You're gonna add the path towards that inside your well, shell profile here, whether it's bash or ZSH. For me, ZSH, that's what I'm using here. But then again, don't just copy blindly any code that you see online. Make sure to review it. In this case, this code is here inside the official Pyenv's Git repository. And in here, you can see that when you're trying to install it, it's the same commands. You're going to install Pyenv. And then after you get that done, second part is to set up your shell environment for Pyenv, and depends on what shell you have. In my case, I have ZSH. That's why I went with this. You might have bash or you might have fish. So that really depends on you. Now for ZSH, this is the exact code that I'm copying. Okay. I'll put a link to this as well in the bio. So this can, you can use this for anything, by the way. You can even find Windows inside here. So that's not as much of an issue. Okay. For Windows, by the way, they use a slightly different Pyenv, but it's kind of the same thing. Like you just go to this profile. I'll put this for Windows as well in the description. So you can just go to the GitHub repository and you can follow their commands. It's the same thing in the article. Now, okay, I think I've installed Pyenv, yeah. So you can see I've installed the latest version here, so 2.4.19. Now that I've got Pyenv, what's the next step? So next step is to add it to our shell, right? So I'm using ZSH. Now I'm going to be adding it to that profile. I'm just going to paste it here like this. And before I paste it, actually, let me just show you what this does, right? All right, let me just show you what this does. So if I do uh, so if I do this, you can see this is my ZSH profile, right? And inside here, if I go to the very bottom, you'll notice that there's not much here, right? So what this command that I was going to paste was, it was going to add some rows here. And these are just basically variables that's trying to help your system recognize Pyenv's, well, the directories saying, hey, this is Pyenv's directory. So any Python version that comes through, we give it the top priority. Because in case you install Python versions from, or Python from like any other method, you don't want it to conflict with Pyenv. So Pyenv is always going to be on top. Any version you install through Pyenv will always be taken precedence over any other version or any other Python versions. So now let's go ahead and add it. I just want to show you this because there's nothing in here, but after we run that command, you'll see this part being populated with some records. Okay, let's just exit this. Okay, so let's go ahead and paste it. And if I do nano again, you'll notice here now that we have our values here that's just been added, right? So it's just pretty much pointing to that root directory for Pyenv, saying just exporting path variables in here. Okay, now that we've gotten this part done, so these are the two steps. You install Pyenv, and then you sort of initialize its path environmental variables within your profile, right? Your shell profile. Okay, now that that's done, awesome work. Now we can go ahead and run Pyenv. So we've ran version. Now you can take a look at all the versions that's there on Pyenv, like as in, I think it's install list. So we can list all the Python versions we can install. So you can see here 3.10, you can go all the way up until 2.13. I mean, I don't see why you'd ever, I've never used this, but you can see even the latest versions are there. 3.14 T, 3.13 is there as well. 3.13. Me personally, I'm going to go with 3.12. Feels more stable for me. So I'm going to go ahead and install 3.12. So how do we install it? Simply pyenv install and then the Python version, which is 3.12. So I'm just going to go ahead and install that. And installing this will take a bit of time. So I'm going to fast forward. Actually, let me talk a bit more about the rest of the commands here, and then I'm going to fast forward it. So after I've installed a specific version, right, I can go ahead and set that version as a global, well, the default Python version for your entire system. Now, in some cases, you might have projects where you want to use separate Python versions for each project. You can also do that. That's also possible. You can see here in, so this is usage. I'm sorry, I think that guy's about to die. But yeah, here you can set your local version, just pyenv local, and then set the version. Automatically select while you're in that current directory of that project. So, but we're going to set the global version for this so that any project I go to or any script I run anywhere is going to run with this specific version, right? So I'm going to set 3.12.0 to be the global. And maybe in the future, I might have a project that I'm doing where it only supports 3.9.0 or 3.10.0. Then I can run this command saying pyenv local. After I go into that folder, I just run pyenv local and then 3.10. So if whenever I'm inside that folder, Pyenv makes sure to run that specific version and not the global version. So hopefully that made sense. Okay, this is still installing, and yeah, I guess I'll just fast forward this part. Okay, it looks like it's done. So up next, now that we've installed Python 3.12, we can go ahead and type which Python. I think I might have to restart my, okay. No. Okay, give me a second. Let me restart my terminal. Go ahead and open that again. So if I do Python version, yeah, so it gives me an issue because it says it still doesn't know what Python is set to as default, which is what brings us to our next command, which is pyenv global, and we can set it to 3.12.0 since we just installed it. And once we've set this and we go ahead and say Python version, sorry, now we can see our Python version is now 3.0. So if I just hit Python, we can go ahead and start using Python as well. Print, right? Hello, YouTube. Wow, okay, that typo is bad. Okay, I mean that's pretty much it. So you've got Python and you can kind of use it from here. You can go ahead and I guess go into any of your you know, directories you have and you can go and change it as well, pyenv local. But thing is, I don't have any other version than 12, so there's nothing else I can set it to. But you can go ahead and install other Python versions. And it's as simple as just saying pyenv install any Python version you want, 3.10, 3.12, anything. And if you want to look at the versions themselves, you can just go and type versions, and you can see here all the versions that you've installed will pop up, and this asterisk you see here at the bottom one means that this is set to the default. So yeah, that's all you need to know. Hopefully this I don't know, helps you with hopefully this helps you with getting things done. That's it. Till next time.